Welcome to Positive Talk Daily, home for positive talk. Today on Mr. Positive Live, we are talking about why we need a real ID. First off, please subscribe to our YouTube page at Mr. Positive Live. We're also on TikTok at Mr. Positive Live. Today on Positive Talk Daily, why do we need a real ID? Now, real ID, we're going to go over why we need it. Why people are having to get a real ID now. And is it really that much better than a standard identification card? Now, the reasons of getting a real ID, depending on the state you're in, is going to depend on what you're using the real ID for. Because eventually, we're going to need real ID, not just to travel domestically across the United States, but it's going to replace the standard ID over time. So, if you have a standard ID already, depending on what state you're living in, like here in the state of Maine, you need a real ID, and I think that's pretty much every state. So, you're also going to need a form. They're going to give you a form to fill out, and then, this is your information packet telling you how much it's going to cost to get a real ID. Now, as of May 7th, 2025, to purchase a real ID is $30 for the identification card or original renewal. So it's just basically replacing your former ID you have now. Non-commercial license one is $55, so a little bit more than the standard license. A non-commercial license, original renewed between 65 and that's age 65 and up, $40. Commercial license, original or renew, $59. Commercial license for original or renews, $47. And all people with licenses, no matter if it's commercial or not, for duplicate cards is $30. So you're going to have your standard ID and you will have the real ID. Now, depending on what state you live in, those prices may range differently from places like California to New York to New Jersey to Florida. I don't know if real ID is going to be accepted everywhere you go, but it's going to be used in government offices and things like that. Now, understanding the real ID aimed to create more secured, identified system for national ID documents. So, you get a lot of these people during the 2024 election that these Democrats were against real ID. They were against, immigrants having to show a form of identification. A U.S. citizen not showing a form of identification. Basically, all you had to do, you could walk into a polling center and simply not have to show an ID, just put your name down, and you were good to go. Okay? Now, things have changed since then. So now you do need to technically a real ID as of May 7, 2025, which we're well past the deadline. Compliance with an ID have specific security features that are accepted for boarding domestic flights here in the United States. So it's kind of like having a passport to fly in the U.S. You kind of need that real ID to fly from one state to another. Now, you could drive there without having to worry about it, but it's for flying, maybe taking a train, a bus, things like that. It's also to board domestic flights, accessing federal facilities, like going to a government office, things like that. That helps prevent identifying a theft or fraud. They'll have the star at the top. Here's a breakdown of how this works. So, security features. It's got a mechanic readable zone on the card. So, Real ID, Compliance ID have a machine readable zone, which is a barcode that is containing the holder's personal information and a standard format, The image and watermark on the Real ID often incorporates a security feature like an image and a watermark that helps prove that it can't be tampered with. Okay, so it's got some technology or a barcode that allows it to not be, they can't fraud, you can't fake it, basically. Unique identifying marks. And some states use unique symbols or colors or stars to separate it from a standard driver's license or a standard identification card. Okay, it consists data. The Real ID, Compliant ID have standardized data that shows information like your name, your date of birth, your address, like any other one does. Electronic database verification. The system often includes electronic database verification to confirm that the authority that you're the real person, boarding a plane, leaving the country, things like that. Okay, security, by creating more consistent and a more safe and more, it's more identifying, it's more documents that you have to show, but it proves you're a real person. Okay, because fraudsters, scammers can steal your identity. And this is one way with the new Real ID, you will be able to board planes without having to worry about fraud, and it's easy. Once you have the Real ID, the question is, what's the cost? Depending on what your state offers it for, it's about the price of a standard driver's license, or standard ID would be the same price as, if you were to purchase a license, the standard identification card will be the same. So you might have two IDs. You'll have your regular state ID and your Real ID. Over time, though, I'm pretty sure Real ID will become the new normal, and they will phase out the older identification card. Again, going over what I'm talking about today, as of May 7th, 2025, which is about 2 weeks ago now, about 2 weeks ago now, Real ID is needed to travel domestically across the United States. Now just be aware of that. If you're someone who isn't sure, hey, can I just board my regular ID? No. You do need a Real ID as of now. So it's time to look at if you're traveling domestically here in the United States. Now, internationally, you won't need the Real ID. It won't affect you if you're going to the Philippines or another country or something like that. So, for Mr. Positive Live, I hope this information was knowledgeable enough to help you in getting a Real ID for domestic travel.